Hey, what's up YouTube? In this video, I'll be showing you how to make Elmore Junior High from the show The Amazing World of Gumball. Here are all of the materials that we will need to make our build. Please do make sure that you have access to all those materials and enough of them as well. And now that we have all of our stuff, we can get started. So the first thing that we have to do in building Elmore Junior High is we have to place a row of 19 smooth sandstone extending up from the ground. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. We then want to extend to the right by 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We then want to extend forwards by 2. 1, 2. Right by 21. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Extend backwards by 2. 1, 2. Extend to the right by 14 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. You can then extend this block all the way down to the ground, but we are also going to want to extend backwards as well. So once we have finished extending down to the ground, we're also going to want to take that block right there and we want to extend backwards by 17. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. We can then extend this block all the way down to the ground as well, but we are of course going to want to extend that block inwards and also another few variety of directions. So once we have joined down to the ground, we're going to come all the way back up to where we just were, just up at the top here, and we want to extend it inwards to the right by 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Extend that block towards you by 2. 1, 2. And then extend to the right by 21. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. And then extend inwards by 2. 1, 2. And then I want you to simply extend to the right and join back to where we very first started. So join all the way back to the front like this, and you can also extend the corner block in which both of the back of the build and the front of the build join together. You can take that corner and extend it down, and once you have done that, you will have a good general idea for how big this build actually is. So this is what we're working with. As you can see, it's actually quite a large build, isn't it? So now that we have completed that, ladies and gentlemen, what are we going to do next? Well, it's quite important that we take the area that sticks out on the front of the build, and we probably should join the corners of this area down to the ground. You see, a lot of detail is present around these areas, and a lot of detail stems from these areas as well. Once the middle of the build has been complete, it's actually quite easy to then use the middle of the build to make the rest of the build. Now, you're probably listening to that and thinking, what does that even mean? I'll show you. So once we have connected both of these two corners down to the ground, so this is essentially the frame for the middle of the build right here, this is where the main entrance is going to be. We're going to come all the way down over to the left where the sandstone hits the ground. We're going to go right of this and we're going to place a singular sandstone. Behind and to the right of that sandstone, I want you to place an orange concrete with one to the right of it. I then want you to place 2 rows of orange on top, so that would be 1 and then 2. I then want you to place sandstone on top of that and extend the sandstone forwards like this. So the orange concrete is a door, by the way, and it is just 1 row backwards from the rest of the build. We then want to take the sandstone, add another row on top, and then this is where the windows come in. We want to place 2 rows of glass, so 1 and 2. Feel free to use pane or block. blocks will be less pain. What we then want to do is place 2 rows of sand on top of the glass, and then 2 more glass on top of the sand, like this. We then want to, once again, we want to place 2 rows of sand on top of the glass, and then we want to place 2 rows of glass on top of the sand. We want to have, in total, 3 rows of windows, just like that. And that's kind of hard to see at the moment, since it's all very light and somewhat opaque. And what we then want to do once we have done this is we actually want to repeat that exact same thing on the right side, but using white instead of orange. So we'll take the very bottom block here, we'll extend it inwards by 1 using sand. We'll place 2 white concrete extending inwards diagonally next to each other. We'll place 2 rows of white concrete directly on top with smooth sandstone on top of the white concrete. Extend the sand outwards and then add another row on top. We then want to simply add 2 rows of glass on top of the sand, and then 2 rows of sand on top of the glass, 2 rows of glass on top of the sand, and then 2 rows of sand on top of the glass, and then finally 2 rows of glass on top of the sand. So we'll have something which should look exactly like this. And you may not realize it, but that's a decent amount of detail done right there. It looks a little bit weird, I'll give you that, but hey. There wants to be 2 rows of sand in between the doorways that we have just made, extending inwards towards the build and the main entrance. So when I say that, I mean I want you to place 2 rows of sand in between the door and the middle of the build. What we can then do is grab our light grey concrete and place a row of 17 light grey extending upwards inside of the second row of sand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Just like that. And we can then extend that all the way over to the right, and we can extend it down. Or as a matter of fact, I'll be extending it up from the ground because it's easier. So, something like this. We then want to take the entire light grey area and we want to extend it 1 row forwards. So the light grey area just behind will actually provide glass, something to actually grip onto, and this is actually the outward frame of the entranceway. We want to place some coloured blocks up at the top here. So along the top underneath we want to place 2 pink concrete going from left to right, smooth sand, 2 blue, sand to orange. We can take all of the colourful blocks and we can extend them downwards, and what we want to do with the sand is we also want to extend it downwards, but we only want to have 2 rows in total, 2 rows of 2, so a 2x2 square of colourful blocks, whereas with the sand you can actually extend it all the way down to the ground, so we want to have something which should look like this. So when we hit the ground, it's actually a good time for us to make the entrance a little bit more. So we're going to grab ourselves the light grey concrete. We're going to take the light grey concrete areas and the sand areas, and we're going to extend them forwards by 2 rows. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. On the left and right sides, we're going to add another row of light grey concrete. On the middle rows, we are simply going to add a single light grey concrete on top of the 2 back blocks. We're going to take polished andesite stairs and we're going to place polished andesite stairs along the edge of everything that we've just made. We then want to have another row that is simply 1 row up and back, and then we want to have a row of polished andesite that sits behind the second row. So like this, you can see we have made a stairway. Behind all of this, I'd recommend you adding an entire row of andesite, like so. What's now important is that on top of the left side, where we have the andesite that are simply just 1 row backwards, I want you to place a 2x2 square of pink. In the middle, I want you to place a 2x2 square of light blue. On the end, I want you to place a 2x2 square of orange, like this. This might be where we have to get the glass. Okay, I'm going to momentarily get rid of the light grey concrete, the polished andesite stairs, and the polished andesite. And we're going to grab pink glass, light blue glass, and orange glass. And the idea here is we want to extend on top of the pink concrete, we want rows of pink glass extending all the way upwards until we cannot see any gaps from the outside. On top of the blue we want the same thing, on top of the orange we want the same thing. So we want to simply have rows and rows and rows of glass on top of all three entrances, extending upwards like this. We then want to leave a gap of 1 above the door, so we want to have 1 glass above all of the doors, and then we want to have a row of pink that kind of sits all along the outside of it like this. So it's kind of like a nice barrier between where we have the doors and all of the glass above. We're also going to fill in the areas just up above the doors with pink concrete as well. This is the effect that you will get, and I think that that looks pretty good. That's most of the detail associated with the entrance, although there is a tad bit more. Here's what we want to do. On the left and right sides of the stairways, we want to have 2 rows of free white concrete. So, as simple as this, 2 rows of free white concrete here on the left and right sides of the stairway, making little rectangles just like this. And that's most of what there is to it. There is more later, but that involves a lot of material changes, and I want to do that a little bit later on in the build. What do we want to do next? Well, I think that it is important for us to make the 2, I don't know how to describe them other than they're like entrances, but they almost look like cabins. It's kind of like a strange thing. But what would be easier is if we take the left and right sides of the entrance area, and if we extend the sand backwards. So, as you guys know, the middle part of this build sticks out, and it has 2 rows of sand behind the part that sticks out. If you add rows to that, and if you also just add like perhaps just 1 row of sand just on the inside of, say, like the left, and we'll have to do that to the right, then this will be a little bit easier, because what we then want to do once we have achieved such an effect, we want to take left of the sticking out entrance area here, so basically just where we have extended the blocks, we want to place a row of 5 white concrete extending forwards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We then want to extend left by 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There will be a double entrance here, so leave a gap of 2 and then place 2 more white concrete and extend back. You want to go as far back as you would have to go to hit the wall. So if you can imagine, there's going to be a wall here. That's how far back you have to go. Left and right of the doorway, we want to have 2 white concretes. On the right side, we want to have 2 white glass pane. Then another 2 white concrete. You can then fill in the rest of the rows of white concrete. You can simply add another row of white concrete on top. And then another row of white concrete on top like this, so on top of all of this. And then I want you to place a row of pink concrete that sits around the top of the entire... Again, it's kind of like an additional entrance, but it kind of just looks like a cabin, quite honestly. So that is what you essentially want to have, and later on we will have doors there too. So now that we have this on the left side, we actually want to go ahead and apply this to the right side. And once more, I would recommend extending the sides backwards on the right side. Extend the sides backwards. We've already done one. Extend the side backwards, I guess, instead of being plural. We want to take the bottom and probably add just an entire row vertically, top to bottom of sand, just to make it a tad bit easier. We take the very bottom block here and we place a row of 5 white concrete extending forwards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like this. We then extend into the right by 1, leave a gap of 2, place a row of 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 white concrete, and then we extend back to where the actual wall of the school would be. So rows of sand just at the bottom here, if you like. We want to have 2 rows of 2 white concrete, one on the left of the door, one on the right, with glass on the right side here. As a matter of fact, I realize I've actually made this in the same way as the opposite side. It actually is opposite. So the doorway is where we just placed the glass, and the window is actually where we had the door. My bad, I was on autopilot there for a second, but that's a very easy swap. There we go. And we want to make the walls all 2 high, and then we want to make them 3 high. So just like this, it wants to go over the top of where the entrance shall be. And then we want to simply place pink concrete around the top of the roof, and it will be filled in later. There's a massive roof to fill in later, and we'll do both of those when we are dishing out the pink roofs. So we want to have something which should look like that, and honestly, not looking bad at all, but these small details really do make the build. So what are we going to be doing next? We're going to be doing the back entrance. Now, this literally involves us just coming all the way over to the back of the build, the exact opposite side of what we were just working on, and it involves us joining the two corners down here, just down to the ground, the back part that sticks out, and we are going to be making a back entrance which is very, very similar to the front entrance. So, it is a little bit different in that the back doesn't have as much detail as the front, but it's actually, like, when it comes to the middle part where we have all of the light grey and we have all of the pink and the orange and the green and stuff, it's actually very, very similar. So first of all, like I said, we want to just place all of that sand. Easy as that. What we then want to do is we want to have the same windows on the back as we have on the front. So that's rather easy to do, and actually we'll do it later. So we'll take the bottom of the sand on the left and right sides and we'll extend them inwards by 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The 6th blocks should really be light grey concrete. We don't actually have it, so we're actually going to get rid of all of the 3 colourful glasses, and we're going to grab the light grey, the andesite, and the andesite stairs again. We're going to turn those last blocks into light grey concrete, just because it'll be a bit easier like this. And we're going to extend the light grey concrete upwards. You want to extend the light grey concrete upwards until it matches what you have on the front of the build. So just make sure it's the exact same height as it is on the front, and you should be okay. So you can just essentially copy the frame shape that you have on the front. That should be hopefully quite simple. We want to extend the frame 1 row outwards, extending out of the back like this. Perfect. We want to then, on the back of the build, we want to have, again, it's pretty much the exact same as the front of the build. So going from left to right, we want to have 2 pink concrete, sand, 2 light blue, sand, 2 orange. We want to extend all of these down. So all of the pink, all of the orange, all of the sand, all of the blue as well. The pink and the orange and the blue only want to be a 2x2 square, but the sand, of course, wants to get extended all the way down to the ground, or all the way from the ground up, whichever way you want to do it. There we go. When it comes to the bottom, we're going to grab the light grey concrete and we're going to place 2 light grey concrete extending forwards from all of the sand and all of the light grey. On the left and right sides, we're going to add another row of light grey concrete on top, but the 2 middle blocks, we're going to add singular light grey concretes. We then want to make stairs. The stairs are very simple. We place stairs extending across the bottom. We extend upwards and inwards diagonally using the andesite stairs. And then we add polished andesite behind the stairs and then an entire row behind. So we want to have something which should look like this. Then we want to, on this left side, we want to have a 2x2 square of pink. In the middle, a 2x2 square of light blue, and then on the end, a 2x2 square of orange, like so. What we then have to do is we have to get our colourful glass out again. You guys all know where this goes from here. We want to, of course, place on top of the pink area, we want to place pink glass. On top of the blue area, we want to place blue glass. On top of the orange area, we will want to place green glass. I'm kidding, it's orange. So we want to just extend all of the glass upwards. And we are missing one little thing as well, which we do indeed have on the front too, which once you have finished adding all the glass, we can actually do it. We can grab ourselves the pink concrete and we can add a row of pink concrete, leaving 1 row of glass above the door. We can add a row of pink concrete that just extends in front of the entire back entrance, just like this. And it's pretty much as simple as that, and just fill these little divots there in using pink as well. So now that we've done that, ladies and gentlemen, what we now have to do is we have to make a lot of windows. Loads of windows, in fact. A huge amount of windows. So, the easiest way to actually place these windows is going to be to add some structural smooth sandstone first. So, the way that I can describe this is, you can see where we have these 3 rows of windows here on the front, right? All of the white stained glass pane. If you take all of these smooth sandstone that we placed in between the windows and you extend it through the build, so hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm talking about, so like here, right? And you extend it through the build like so, it will actually make placing the windows very, very simple. So if you just make sure that you've got those 3 rows of 2 smooth sandstone placed throughout the entire horizontal plane of the build, kind of like this, right? Hopefully you can see what I'm talking about. And what that will then mean is we can place the windows very easily, because you see where these windows are here in the central part of the build, if we move over to the left and we leave a gap of 2 from this wall, so if we add a row of smooth sand and then we place 2 rows of 2 glass pane, that's where the first window is. You then want to leave a gap of 2 between this window, and then we've got a rather large window. It's a row of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this just fills this area here. Very, very simple. And the cool part about this is that then above we have windows in the same place. So just above these 2 rows of smooth sand, we can then have glass. And then above this we can have glass again. It's really, really simple. So the windows are in the same place. We just want to repeat them over and over again, and we'll just end up with something that should look like that. And of course it looks a bit silly at the moment because we don't have all of the sand involved, but when we do, it will look fantastic. And as we head to the side of the build, for instance, so on the side of the build, it's not a completely different story. If you place all of the horizontal smooth sand in between all of the rows of the building, then you will be able to place the windows. And the same will go for the back as well, but once we've actually completed this little section here, everything else is very simple because it's just going to be repetition upon repetition. So now you can see that on the side of the build that we have the same sand that we have on the front of the build. All that means is that we then will start with the bottom again. We'll place a row of sand on the right side here, and then a row of 2 glass like this. We then want to have a gap of 2 between this window, and then we want to have a row of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we'll have a row of 2 sand, and then a row of 2 glass, and then on the end will of course be 2 sand. And all you've got to do is make the glass 2 rows high. You've got to make sure that all of the windows have at least 2 rows of sand separation. We'll have something which should look like that. And that's it. Ladies and gentlemen, you then take those windows and you extend them up throughout the entire build. It hopefully couldn't get too much simpler, and that's all you do. You just extend it upwards, and once you've done that the first time, of course, all you have to do is just look down below, and it doesn't get much easier than that. You look down below, you make sure it's in the same position. There's no need for any counting or anything like that, and again, it's not going to look exactly the same because the glass pane has to spread out, but that's what we want to have. And on the back of the build, it couldn't get too much simpler because we'll start off with the sand that it's got to of course connect to the middle as well. On the back of the build, we didn't extend the middle part. So hang on, we did that slightly wrong. There we go. But we actually only need that first row of sand. So here, and then we extend this here. All of these separating rows, extend this here, and also here. Perfect. So you can see exact same rows, except we only have the one down below, but we don't need more than one anyway. And then we actually want to copy the windows that we have on the front. So on the front, you'll notice that we've still got the 2 rows of separation on the right, and then we've got a row of 6 window. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then a gap of 2, and then a 2 window like that. It really is quite that simple. So this is just a copy of the exact of the front. So we've got the row of 6 and then the row of 2, and then we can pretty much just copy what we have down below us. And then once we've done that, we've almost done half of the entire windows. There's a lot of windows involved here, a lot of windows. I think that they probably have to have windows on a school just so that you don't go crazy, so you've got something to stare out of here. And then we just add this row of glass. So again, exact same thing, just like this. We want to have the same windows that we have on the front of the build as well. So when it comes to the middle part of the build, it's, again, I'm almost getting sick of repeating the same thing. It's the exact same thing. So we want to have the same window situation that we have on the front of the build. You can even copy it from the front if you like, or you can use the technique which we've been using, which is extending all of the sand through, just like this. So extend all of the sand. And then we want to place the 2 rows of 2 white stained glass panes. So we want to have something which should look like this. And again, very hard to see like that, but that's what we want to have. And we may as well continue extending through the build. So actually, you know what? It's actually a little bit trickier because we don't have the sand. We could kind of like extrapolate it from the side. So I mean, you know where the sandstone's supposed to be. It's we can see it from the opposite side. We'll go around clockwise. Why not? We'll do all the windows together. So just make sure that you have the sand extending through the entire build, just like this, and then we can place all the windows. These windows, of course, are the exact same as the ones that we have on the front. They're in the same position. You don't really have to count anything out or measure anything. It's quite easy to kind of just see where they are, but you do know that they are 2 rows away from pretty much everything, so hopefully it's quite easy to do. And then we can extend the sand backwards and then to the side here. Again, it probably would have been easier if we would have connected these two like sides of the back of the build. If we would have connected them like down to the ground, if we would have extended them like we did on the front, it'd be a little bit easier. But as long as we follow the shape of the building, it's really difficult to go wrong. Here we go, just like this. And then on this side, you know what? I am realizing it would actually be easier. Actually, it's actually fine to do it this way. I don't know what I'm talking about. I was going to say it would be easier to do it from that side, but it's really no different. So on the right hand side here, as we're extending around, we want to make sure that we have a gap of 2, and then we have a 2 wide window, and then a gap of 2, and then a row of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like this. And we want to make the glass 2 rows high, just like this. And then we want to have the same window structure going all the way up through. So you guys know what to do. You just copy what you have down below, you extend it up through. This will make all of the windows that we need, and then we can move around to the side of the build, and then we'll be copying the front from the back, which is kind of funny. So we want to have this. It looks so weird without all the details, but once we have done those windows, we can extend these through, and we can do the side windows. As you'll even be able to see from the other side, since everything's nice and open at the moment, you'll be able to see it's simply 2, 6, 2. So should be very easy to do. It doesn't matter which side we'll start from, but we'll start from the right side. So we want to make sure that we've got a gap of 2 with the sand, and then 2, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 2. Easy as that. So I can't stress enough, I'm sorry for repeating it over and over again, but I really do just want to drill this point, is that it's the exact same as the opposite side. So if somehow you get confused in some sort of way, as long as you've done one side, you'll be able to copy that and extrapolate it onto the opposite side. So it should be quite easy. We have almost done this entire side. it goes so quickly, like you don't even have to think about it. So this side has been done, and then we just have to move on to the final side, which is the front right side. We have done like an entire clockwise tour of the build now. I didn't actually plan on doing it that way, but it just kind of worked out to be that it was quite simple, quite easy to just kind of like just move around the build in a circular fashion, so like this. And then starting from the right hand side here, we have the gap of 2, and then we've got a 6 window and then a 2 window. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, gap of 2, 2 glass. And then we just add our extra row of glass on top, of course, as you guys know. Don't have to keep repeating it, although I do. And then we just extend the windows all the way through the build. And then I'll be quite happy to tell you that that is, I do want to say, going to be all of the windows. I don't think that we will ever need any more. I think that this school has enough windows for like 3 schools. So we just want to have something which should look like that, which I'm pretty happy with. So now that we've kind of got like the skeleton of the school complete, we should also add where the roof is going to be. The roof, unsurprisingly to you, will be at the top of the build. It's going to be a row of pink concrete. The pink concrete is going to overhang the top sides of the build, and it's going to conform to the shape of the sand. So it's going to follow the shape of the sand, it's going to be 1 row higher than the sand, and it's going to be 1 row outwards in relation to the sand. And then the pink concrete will be later on filled in completely at the top. Unless you wanted to add skylights or something like that, I'm not going to. I'm just going to fill the entire top of the roof in with pink. But the desired effect is this, looking pretty good. So now that we have done that, ladies and gentlemen, I think that the next thing that we should do is we should add some of these smaller details that I mentioned earlier. So I'm going to dump these materials, and we will probably need some of the ones that we've already used, but for instance, we're going to need buttons, we're going to need tripwire hooks, we're going to need iron bars, oak leaves, oak fence, lime concrete. We will need some polished andesite, we will need doors, we will need smooth stone slabs, and we will even need more. So, on the front of the build, we have, to the left here, a patch of white concrete. Take the back left white concrete and place 2 oak fence on top. Place a lime concrete on top of this and extend it left and right. Take the middle and extend it upwards. Boom, you have a tree. On the right side, on the white concrete, we simply want to add 2 leaves in the back left corner and in front of it. Above these 2 small doors, we want to have smooth stone slabs. So along the top of the doors, we want to have smooth stone slabs, and we want to have a button, a stone button representing a door handle. We want to have this on both sides like this. So this quite clearly marks out the 2 little entrances. We want to use tripwire hooks to simulate door handles on each one of the 3 colourful doors in the centre part of the school. We then want to add iron bars on top of the light grey concrete areas in between the stairs and on top of the light grey concretes on the left and right. So we want to have something which should look like this. When it comes to the 2 little, again, they kind of look like porter cabins. I'm going to replace the floor here with polished andesite, and I'm going to place iron doors here and also on the opposite side. Here, just like this. That is looking pretty good. We will not need lime concrete again, so I'm actually going to grab red concrete, and I think this is an alarm of some sort. There wants to be a red concrete that is... It's basically, the best way that I can describe it is that the red concrete wants to just be bottom left diagonally placed below this window on the right side. You'll see it's connected to the like the pink canopy sort of thing that we have. Now that we've done that, that is most of the detail on the front. I'm just going to go to the back and I'm going to add some minor details as well on the back. So, on the back of the build, first of all, we want to add all of the door handles that we have in the front of the build. You want to be able to escape. So, we have the door handles. We want to have the iron bars as well. Here. next to the stairs, just to make sure that you don't fall. Safety first. And now that we've done that, we want to add leaves. The leaves are going to be added at the base of the school here. So they're basically just going to sit left and right. Here we're just going to have a row of oak leaves that sits like this. It's difficult to describe, but basically they're going to sit against the wall, and we're just going to have a row of leaves. It's going to extend all the way over to the left here, and then have just a row just up above it. It's hopefully you guys can see what you do. It just basically is to cover up some of the wall, as you'll be able to tell that the wall is a little bit exposed, isn't it? So we want to cover it all up. Of course, all of that will get filled in with sandstone a little bit later on. What do we do next? It's actually very simple. This is all we're going to be doing. So we're going to be using grey concrete and polished andesite. On the back of the build, we're going to make a bit of a courtyard. It's going to be made out of grey concrete. It's going to extend out the back left and right sides, and we'll probably have like a row of 2 grey concrete in front of the stairs here. So just like this. So grey concrete is going to extend forwards from the left and right sides, and it's just going to be far enough out that it is 2 rows in front of the stairs like this. All of that will get filled in with grey concrete. You'll see that later. When it comes to the front of the build, we want to add just a bit of a pathway. We're going to take the front of the build, we're going to take the 2 corners, we're going to extend it out forward so that it is 2 rows in front of the build as well. It's just basically a pavement. The school, I'm pretty sure, is like it goes straight onto a street, so we've got a little bit of pavement. You can even add a little bit of road if you like as well, perhaps with like 1, 2, 3, 4 rows of grey concrete in front of the polished andesite. Add 4 rows of grey concrete, and you'll end up with something that should look a little bit like this. Of course, I haven't filled this in just yet, and I'm not going to on recording because it will take a really long time, and it'll add to the length of the video, and you will hear me patter on about nothing pretty much. But you can see that the school is there. All that is left to do, and this is all we have to do, we fill this area in here with grey. We fill this area in here with andesite. We fill all of the walls in with sand, and we fill the ceiling in with pink, and of course we fill that little area at the back of the school in with grey concrete as well. It's all laid out for you. All we have to do is just add loads and loads and loads of different materials in. We just have to essentially fill it in almost as if it's like a colouring book, just filling in each section with a particular material. I'm going to do that. I'm going to be back, and I'll show you what the entire school will look like once it's been 100% fully completed. Back in a moment. So once all of those things have been done, ladies and gentlemen, this is what your Elmore Junior High will look like once it has been 100% fully completed. We have filled in the entire back part of the build. You may even notice that I have blacked out the windows as well, just to add a bit of contrast. We have filled in all of the roofs. We have the 2 little mini roofs, we have the pavement area outside, we have the road, and of course the main roof as well. All done, and this is what the build will look like. Honestly, it's pretty impressive from this view. I hope that you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please do remember to hit that like button, as it really helps me and the channel out very, very much. If you're new around here, please do consider subscribing and clicking that little bell next to the subscription button. That'll ensure that you get all my videos sent directly to your sub box. And if you do want to make anything else by me, check out the card system description below in the top of the comment section for more. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I love you all very much, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.